Hey y'all, today we are in the kitchen and we're gonna do a recipe video. It has been some time since we've done this. We have been focused on the garden and we finally have it all out. So we're gonna get in the kitchen and do a recipe video. On Mother's Day, I had posted about our dewberry cake recipe, and Diana from Diana's Homestead said she would like the recipe. So I thought I would go ahead and share that. This is like my classic berry recipe. It's kind of like a cupcake muffin recipe. So that's what I'm going to share today, and it is super good. I have tried so many muffin or cupcake recipes, and this one is amazing. And I've made a few tweaks to it to make it even better. So to start out with the like cupcakes and muffins, I have found that it is a lot better to use a cake flour. It just makes the cake really light and fluffy. And I don't know about y'all, but where we're at, a little bitty box of cake flour is like over $5. And I figured out a way to make that homemade. And actually you can make a lot of these special flours homemade and they work better and it's really cheap to do. So that's what we're going to do first, is we're going to make the cake flour. So to make this, we only need and actually I'm going to make this in, I usually do this as cupcakes, and I have started doing it in like more of a cake form because it's just easier and doesn't take as much time. So we're going to use just 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and we're going to take out 2 tablespoons of that. So I know that's kind of weird, but we're going to replace that with cornstarch. So we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And if you are just making cake flour, all you need to do with that is to whisk this up, and then you will put this through the sifter 2 times. That is the really important thing, to do it twice. But since we're going to go ahead and make the cake, we're going to add the other ingredients in before we go ahead and sift that. So the next thing we need to do is add in 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So we'll do that, and then let's see, a teaspoon of baking powder. You can also make this homemade. This is my last jar of this, and I think I'm going to start making that homemade too. Let's see, a teaspoon of that. There we go. And let's see, I think that's everything here. So we'll give that a little whisk, and then we are going to sift that. So that, remember, the key to cake flour is to sift it 2 times. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we will probably put some music on or something so it's not quite so loud while we do this. Okay, now we're going to go over to the mixer and get the other parts for the wet ingredient of the cake. So now we're going to start our wet ingredients. We're going to add in 1 egg, and then we're going to do 1/2 cup of sugar. And this is just plain white sugar. So we'll do that, and we're going to whisk that together. And you don't have to have a fancy mixer like this. You can just use a hand mixer for this. All right, now that that's mixed in, we are going to add in 1/2 cup or 4 ounces of cream cheese. This recipe has a lot of cream cheese in it, and I think that is the key to what makes it really, really good. So we're going to add that in here. If we can get it. Sometimes it's tricky. And then let's see, I think we're going to go ahead and put in our vanilla. I forgot to get a measuring spoon for that. So we need 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and we like to use this Mexican vanilla. We get it from a local store to us, and you can also buy it on Amazon, and it is really good and really cheap. So that is our favorite vanilla to use. So we just need 1/2 teaspoon of that. If I can get it, sometimes it's hard to pour and I don't want to overdo it. So there we go, we did good. Now we're going to go ahead and mix all of this up. All right, so now that we have all of our wet ingredients, we are going to add in our dry ingredients. And you can do this a little bit at a time or just all at once. If you do it all at once, go slow. So hopefully it makes a little mess as possible. And actually, I'm sitting here looking at this. I completely forgot to add the butter. So as with usual with my recipe videos, I forget something. I don't know why it's always that way, but we'll just go ahead and add it in now. It'll be just fine. I thought it looked a little thick, but that's okay. You can use, we need half a stick of butter, or that is like half a cup, or no, it's not. That's like a quarter of a cup of butter. So hang on a second. Let me think about this. It was supposed to be, I'm looking at my recipe. Let's see. I cannot even see it. A quarter of a cup of butter. Yes, that's right. And if you don't want to use butter, you can use oil too, but I think it's even better with the butter. So now we're going to mix this up. Okay, so see, that's mixed up and it's really thick. But next what I do is I need to get all of the berries put in there. We are going to kind of make like a triple berry. I set some of them aside. These are dewberries, or some people call them wine berries or Japanese wine berries. They just grow wild here. We also have, let me go get them. Those need to be washed. We were able to cut the grass, and they got a little bit of grass on them, so I got to wash those. We also have some blueberries here, and some more blueberries and dewberries, and a little bit of strawberries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these washed up, and since the dewberries are really they're tart, so I'm going to go ahead and sugar them. I found that it's a lot better that way. And some of our strawberries that we have are also kind of tart, so I find that that helps and makes it even better. So we are going to get these all washed up and get all the grass off of them. Okay. Usually the grass floats, so it makes it pretty easy. Robert loves the blueberries. So I think that was the only ones that we needed to wash. The other ones were good. Make sure we get all the grass. We don't want to eat grass. Although I'm sure it wouldn't hurt you, but try and get it all off like that. And I need to go get a bowl to put that in with some sugar. So I'll be right back. That we need to chop up this strawberry here, and also we're going to chop up some of these bigger blueberries too. So we were really excited to get all of these out of the garden. Dewberry season is almost over, but we are getting blueberries and a few more strawberries we still have. So it is really nice to have all of these berries. So we're going to have, like, instead of just dewberry cake, we're going to have a triple berry cake. Let's try and get all of these bigger blueberries here chopped up. Maybe we'll have some left. They are really, really good. And we found that there are some varieties that are super sweet too, with both the strawberries. Sorry about that. My phone decided not to record the audio through some of these video clips, so we're going to have to add that in here, and it miraculously started working later on, so this is going to be a little bit weird, but we're just going to go with it. What I was trying to say here is that we have about 6 different varieties of strawberry plants, and I think about 10 different varieties of blueberries. And we have found that there are certain ones that are a lot sweeter than others. We just have a few strawberries, and we've kind of figured out that we like one variety an awful lot. And with the blueberries, there are several of them that are definitely sweeter than others. So I was going to suggest, if you could go to a U-Pick farm that has all of these different varieties labeled, that would be a really great way to go and figure out which ones you do like the flavor of. That way you don't have to spend the money and wait a year or however long it takes to grow them and it be a variety that you don't even like very much. And we're going to go ahead and sugar these as well. The dewberries are super, super tart, and if it was only dewberries that I was going to be using in this recipe, I probably would have doubled the sugar. I think I used about 1/4 of a cup here, but with the dewberries being so tart, I think the last time I made it and I used a whole 1.5 cups. That's what we're looking for here, if I didn't say that. Whenever I did that, I used a 1/2 cup of sugar. Now we're going to mix that up and carefully fold it in, trying not to mash the berries. This is pretty hard, especially if you have really ripe berries, but it just makes the cake kind of a more purpley color like with the dewberries, so I'm okay with it, but you just want to try and break them as little as possible. I usually make cupcakes with this recipe, but I decided to try and do a cake. That way it'll be a little bit faster. So we're going to add this into a grease pan. Mine is about a 9x7 pan, and I find that works really good. And this mixture is going to be really thick, and it doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's going to bake up and be really nice and fluffy and just this wonderful texture. Now we're going to make the cream cheese layer. For this, we need 3 tablespoons of sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, a teaspoon of cornstarch, and 6 ounces of cream cheese. So if you want to make this exactly the way that I did, you need to be sure and get 2 blocks of cream cheese for this recipe. You won't use all of it, but you need 2 blocks. Then after it's all nice and mixed, it's kind of hard to spread. So what I like to do is I like to make little dollops all over the top and try and spread it out as evenly as possible, trying not to get too much of the cake mixture up into the cream cheese. That way you have separate layers. Now I'm going to bake this in my little air fryer convection oven at 300 degrees for 10 minutes. To get it to cook evenly, I turn mine and cook it at 300 degrees for another 10 minutes. Okay, it's baked for 20 minutes and it is not done. As you can see, it's still a little undone. We are going to take this out and let this cool for 10 minutes. I know that's really unconventional, but I will explain this all later. All right, it's been 10 minutes and we are going to add a glaze to this. Now, I know this is really unconventional, the way to do this, but I made it like this, and whenever I first made it, it was not done, and I had added the glaze and thought it was done, but it wasn't, and we ended up having to put it back in the oven and cook it a little bit longer, and it ended up being super good. Something magical happens whenever you make the glaze and put it in there. The glaze goes into it, and it's really, really good. So we've got 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar or confectioner's sugar, and we're going to add about 2 tablespoons or so of milk till we get a nice consistency. May have to adjust this and add a little more or a little less of either the powdered sugar or the milk. But I like it to where it's kind of runny. That way you can just pour it on. So I think we're good here, and we're going to just pour this all over the top. And this is so good whenever you bake it, and like I said, it's almost magical what happens. I'm not sure exactly what happens, but it makes it super good. And whenever I went to make this again, Robert said I needed to make it exactly the way I made it before because he loved it so much. So this is why I make it this way. And I'm gonna just move it around like that. I wasn't the best at getting it everywhere, but we'll try and get that all over. That way every piece is nice and yummy and has that nice glaze on it. Okay, so now we're going to take this and put this in the oven. I'm going to do it for 13 minutes the first time. So we're going to do this at 300 degrees for 13 minutes. And then we'll come back and I'll have to turn it and do it just a little bit more time. So 300 degrees, 13 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to turn this again one last time. It's almost done, and we're going to cook it at 300 degrees for 10 more minutes. And y'all's cooking time may be completely different. I'm sure it is than mine if you're using a regular oven, but this is just what I have to do to get it to cook evenly in my little air fryer oven. All right, it's all done. And it looks really good. You can always put a toothpick in it to check and make sure it's done. But this is what it looks like. And now comes the hard part. You gotta wait a little bit for it to cool, because as you can tell, it is very hot and boiling. All right, hopefully it's cooled off enough, and we're gonna get a little bit of this out. I was told we want different size pieces here, so we're gonna get that. I think I'll get this. Well, we'll try and get this one. This one may not come out the best. Usually the first piece is the hardest one to get out. Here we go. Well, it's falling apart on me, but that's okay. It'll still taste good. Get this other piece. Maybe the second piece is hardest to get out, but it looks really good. You can kind of see down in here how good it looks. It is very, very good. I hope y'all enjoy this recipe. Thank y'all so much for watching, and we'll probably leave the recipe in the description, and I'll probably end up doing a blog post. It's been forever since I did that. So we'll probably leave a printable link to the recipe there. So y'all take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye!